welcome back, Mastercrafted Gaming fans. Caleb and Kyle coming at you with another strategy report. Tonight, I'm going to cover units and unit sizes and what they mean to you and how you're going to build an army around each individual thing.
Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how they fit, how you want to put them in your army, and what you want to do with them in the end game, what you're trying to accomplish. So Caleb's going to talk to you about that, and we'll catch you up and show you exactly how it's going to work.
All right, guys, so we're going to go through some unit breakdowns about sizes and what their typical role is going to be in your army. Now, keep in mind, this is not a cookie cutter. This is not a one-size-fits-all. This is some generalities for King's War. I'm doing this video because some guys have left us some comments in our other videos. Hey, can you give me a breakdown? What do these things mean? Why am I going to use this versus that? So I'm going to go in, I'm going to use a little bit of my Horde army and a little bit of my Ogre army. So ignore the fact the Ogres aren't painted. I just got them built the other night. So
playing a game is going to be amazing.
Yeah, we are. I'm really pumped to play my Ogres here in a little bit. I'm going to blow these Twilight Kin right off the table.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm going to blow them off the table. Yeah, just shut up. So the first one I got here is some Tribal Hunters. These are 20 by 20 millimeter. This is a troop size. So what this unit is, it's a shooting unit. Most often, you're going to use this as chaff. You're going to use this as a unit blocker. You're going to use it as somebody who doesn't really chase objectives, but they just kind of get in the way. They get mowed down, but they set up charges. They're bait. That's going to be their number one purpose for most of your armies. We go back here. We've got 25 by 25 millimeter. This is a flying, but it's still a troop. But you get an idea of the base size versus...
A little bit bigger.
Try and show you.
Yeah.
Get these fancy cardboard bases.
Yeah, shut up. Making fun of me. It hurts. But what this is once again, now you're going to have some elite units, especially like in the Orc army. They're going to be the size of the Abyssal, where you're going to use them. They're not going to be really chaff as much as they're going to be guys that kind of hold up a unit until you get some bigger heavy hitters or a more elite unit to get there. So with 25 by 25 millimeter, they're not just road bumps or speed bumps to say. They are actually there. Hopefully they'll hold out for a turn or two till you get some support there to help clean it up. So next up, I've got cavalry. Sorry, I say it wrong. I'm white trash. 25 by 50 millimeter bases. I don't have a Horde. I don't have 5 more. But this is a troop size. Once again, this is going to be unit interdiction. This is going to be chaff. This is going to be late game table objective grab. These guys have a lot of purposes. Don't just use them as chaff, as bait. A lot of times you're going to need these guys for end of game or supporting attacks later. So don't waste them. You know, cavalry is, I can't stress enough. You pay a lot, you pay a premium for them for that movement. Don't waste them. So next up, we've got a regiment. This is 25 by 25 millimeter. I don't have any 20 millimeter in my Horde army, so I can't cover that. But you see, good base size. You know, when you compare that versus a troop, weird, it's double the size. Oh, look at this amateur hour. God. I bet you mini war game you wouldn't do that. So, it's obviously double the size, right? Weird, makes sense. Even I passed high school math. But it's not as deep. So this is where a regiment is a little different. Regiment typically will not give you double attacks from a troop. This is something to keep in mind. But what it really is, it's a more survivable troop. It is a bigger, meaner road bump. You're going to have a lot of elite units in this size. These guys are going to be good at helping your individuals, your monsters, hold up units so you can get there and beat the snot out of them. While maybe you got some big boys behind them, maybe a Horde, maybe a regiment of cavalry, it's 10 deep. So they have a lot of purposes. So regiment size, 25 by 25 millimeter, they're going to be anchors of your army.
It starts to unlock some things for you too.
It really does. So every regiment you take lets you take a troop or one monster or one war machine or one hero. One of the three, not all three. But it also gives you a troop. I'm sorry, 2 troops. So when we piece these together, we have a Horde. This is a 25 by 25 millimeter.
Great basing tip as well.
Yeah, humongous, deep. And you're going to see the depth and why it comes into play here in just a second. These guys are your anchors. They're your anvils. And when I say anvil, you run them across the table. Other smaller units hit them. If they're not Horde or regiment size, you're going to blow right through them because most of your Hordes are going to have 30 plus attacks. Most of them, not all of them. And they're going to be pretty solid in combat. They're going to have high nerves. So these guys are going to be the guys you need on the table come the end of the game when you tally up victory points, you got your 230 points left over, your 350 points if they're ogres. These are big points for the end of the game for victory points. So these are units you do not throw away. You want to protect them. You have to support them. It's a big, big deal. So I'm going to jump off base here real quick because I got my ogres finally assembled. And I'm waiting on my bases to show up. So this is an ogre 40 by 40 millimeter regiment. So it's only 3 models, which is pretty awesome. One of the reasons I helped pick ogres.
These are great models, by the way.
Yeah, they really are. So if you're not familiar with Mannix ogre line, if you're holding out hope, they really beat a competitor's ogre models. They beat the pants off them. You know, they're not fat, they're muscular, they're what I think of when I think of ogres. Not as tall as I thought they would be, but hey. So regiment size, we compare it to a troop of 20 millimeter. We see shorter, but depth is the same actually. It's 40 millimeter, 20. So in this size, you're looking at chaff units, you're looking at support units. Ogres are a little different. Monstrous infantry is a little different. Not going to play the chaff role the way a unit of 20 by 20 millimeter troop will. Pair this up now. Now you've got a horde. This is 40 by 40 millimeter. So, or sorry, 40 by 80 millimeter. 120 by 80. Jesus.
You sure you passed high school math?
Evidently not. So this is a good size unit. You compare it to a regiment though of 25 millimeter, still smaller.
Really, you look at the horde, the side by side there. That's a massive difference between 2 of the same unit types.
And we're going to see something here in a second. Look at the depth. The unit isn't as deep. That's a big deal. I know it may seem tiny, but that's going to help you avoid those flank and rear charges if you play that right. It's something to consider if you're playing a monstrous infantry army, which we're going to see a lot with abyssals hitting the shelves soon. Ogres, I think, are going to pick up a lot of steam because they're actually really good models. I know me, Michael Lone, who's competing with me on the Kings of War Fanatics Facebook page. We got a competition going. I believe Matt Gilbert's got some ogres. He's on the rules committee. So ogres, I think we're going to see a lot of them. I'm really excited about. So next thing we're going to move to, horde. Horde of 40 millimeter. So this is 240 millimeters across, 80 deep. Now, that seems big until you put 25 millimeter next to it. It's also not as deep. I'll be honest, I've found my hordes of my tribal, they're not berserkers, they're spirit warriors, can be a little unwieldy. You know, if you got to pivot and get through stuff, I've found that they have some struggles.
I've found it's amazing.
Yeah. Of course he has. So ogre's not going to be that different, but you don't have the depth of game, which I really like. I didn't think I would, but I like how shallow the unit is versus a normal horde. I'm sorry, this is not a horde, it's a legion. I apologize. I'm new here.
It's okay.
Yeah, I'm new. So horde, legion. But versus even a regular legion of, say, zombies, which is 6 deep.
Yep. Big difference there, for sure. For sure.
But I think it's a great anchor unit. Again, a lot of attacks, good nerve, going to be able to hang on the table, and a lot of points. That's what's big. So next up, Regiment of Chariots. Not every army has got great chariots. I'll be the first one to say. I think each one of them plays a little different. I don't love the ogre chariots as much, but I haven't played them yet either. I really like my herd chariots. So this is large cavalry. It's a 50 by 100 millimeter base, so they're big. They have a big footprint. You got a deep flank here, which is not great. You got a wide rear, so there's some not great things. So you got to play these guys right. These are a unit that you're going to use to help break big units. That's what they're going to be there for. You're looking for, because most of these are going to have speed, you're looking for flank attacks. Because most of these have only got 7 to 12 attacks. So taking on a horde straight up, that's a bad call. And you're going to pay a price, and it's going to be about 170 to 210 points depending on the army you're playing. And you're going to lose those. They're just gone. You know, you put them up against a horde of, say, spirit warriors or even ogre warriors, you're done. You got no shot. So you got to use them for flanks. You got to use them for supporting fire if they have bow shots. So next up, same base size. This is actually considered large cav. This is my stampede for my herd army. It's the same size base, but this is considered a horde. And what this actually would be 6 50 by 50 models, or 50 by 50 bases. That would be is it Dracon or Dacon Riders? Dracon?
I think it's Dracon.
Dracon Riders. Do you have something in your Twilight Kingdom?
Abyssal Riders.
The Abyssal Riders. So these are bigger mounted creatures. Some are flying, but they're a big base, big footprint, but they're good. All of them are good. All of them are good at something. They either fly, or they have a lot of attacks, or they've got a high nerve, a good toughness. So I think another one is Ancients on Rhinosaurs and the Lizard Man army. Good units. Once again, you're using them for support. You're taking out small stuff. You're taking out chaff. You're taking out regiments, troops. You're not taking out hordes with them. You don't want to do that. So lastly, monsters. Now monsters can be on bases as small as 50 by 50. This one's a 50 by 100. I apologize for the model from the line it's from. It's what it is. I think a lot of us refugees have these though. So you can have a monster, which my giant for my ogre army will be on a 50 by 50 millimeter base. I found one from Reaper.
That's the minimum?
That's the minimum, yeah. For a monster. I found some models from Reaper that I think are going to work perfect for a giant. Just big enough that it's going to look all right. And the base is still small. So the downside to this one, this guy gets flanked like it's nobody's business.
Yeah.
Look how deep that is. You know, there are a lot of units like this that really love the depth. And for some of us refugees that have got these, and this applies even to chariots or large cavalry, the depth of this is not a great thing. So these guys got to be protected on the left and right. You cannot let them get flanked. They will get smoked every freaking time. Yeah.
So pay attention to your base size when you're making a monster.
Yes. And then for your characters, most of those are going to be on 20, 25 millimeter. Some can be on up to 40 millimeter. If there are a rider or a large cavalry chariot, they'll be on their appropriate base size. For a lot of them, what you got to keep in mind, if they have individual, they are not as much a supporting unit as they are a nerve retest unit. They're going to throw spells out. They're going to do those re-rolls on failed nerve checks. That's what they're there for. Most of these guys, if they've got the individual rule, you're not charging people with them. It's just not going to be good for you. Grokkamok from the Ogre doesn't have individual, or I'm sorry, he does have individual, but he's got blast for his attack. So he's a little exception.
Do you have him?
I do actually have him.
Jesus.
He's the one I started painting. So
I'll face that thing.
Yeah. But for a lot of them that are on chariots, though, or on mounts, they lose individual. So why is that important? Double and treble attacks. All of a sudden, they become combat monsters. Lady Alona is pretty solid if she picks her fights. She's an individual from the Undead Army. She's on a 20 millimeter base. Very solid against chaff and smaller size units. You know, your troop size. What she's not great against is she can't go face to face with a horde, a regiment. Maybe a cavalry troop. Maybe. A monster, probably not. Probably not.
She's a great character hunter, too.
She is a great character hunter. So remember that. When that individual, when you see that, they have a very different role. They're a supporting unit. They are not a fighting unit, by and large. Now, if they have a mount, a chariot, a flyer, whatever they may be, on a dragon, all of a sudden, these are combat animals. I know you see that price tag and you're thinking, but these guys get double and treble attacks, and all of a sudden 10 attacks goes to 20, goes to 30. And typically they have high defenses, good nerves, they hit on threes. Fly, crushing strength 3, and God knows what kind of spell they have. And most of them still have inspiring. You play them different than your regular based individuals, and I can't stress that enough. I haven't done it a lot with my Horde army, because I don't have a lot that's actually mounted model-wise. But I use them the way they're supposed to, which is support. They should be behind units. They should be used as screen if it comes to that. Because remember, if you kill an individual, you can overrun into the unit behind them. So, I shouldn't say overrun. You can, it's an appropriate term.
Keep trucking.
Yeah, keep
Whatever.
trucking. Yeah. So, I hope this cleared up and answered some questions for some folks. I hope that this was on point for what you're looking for. I don't remember the guy's name who asked for the video. But this is kind of my take on it. It's not the be-all, end-all. Every army is different. So look at your army list. You know, that'll help you determine. You got to remember, elite units versus standard units, this is going to change up some of their roles. We're going to have another strategy report we're going to show tonight, or film tonight, and we will, I think that's it.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. Fuck
All
up
right.
at the end here, so have to cut that.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.